that is basically what we just did. So can everybody see this? Let me see if I can make it any bigger. Okay, so the time is up here, and then our directions east, south, and west. So at 7, if I move the time to 7, what do you think the shadow is going to look like? Long. There we go. So let's see. So what does that say?
Early morning, low angle sun casts a long shadow behind a stick.
Okay, so what happened? What do you think the shadow is going to look like at about 10 a.m.?
It's gonna be a little shorter.
You think in the middle between what?
Like
Directions.
like near southwest, but closer to the sun.
Okay, all right, let's see. Correct. So what about at noon? All right. All right, so now the sun's about to set. At 2 o'clock, what do you think it's going to look like?
Would look like at 10 o'clock on the other side. Yeah.
I think it'll be longer though.
You think it'll be longer in what direction? Towards the east? Okay.
But still closer to.
But still closer? Okay, yep. So what about at 4?
Really like a lot closer to east.
Okay. And then at 5 o'clock? The longest it'll be, because that, why is it going to be the longest at 5 o'clock? Okay, so now we're going to do that, but so we're going to draw it with markers, and we're going to do the same thing essentially that this is, but then you write in your own definition and description of why the shadow is the longest at that time of the day. Okay? So I did one to show you guys, but I didn't write my explanation because I want to see what kind of explanations you guys can do. So I've essentially just did the same thing, so I'll leave that out and then write to the side, and then we'll discuss it. Here's a piece of paper. And then I brought some markers over, but you may have to go to the other boxes around to get a yellow or orange or whatever color you want your sun to be. Make sure you put your directions on there and the time of day. Like, I drew this at 5, but you may choose to draw yours at 3. So it's whatever time you want, as long as you have the shadow going the correct way and the correct length.
So you want to draw a picture of the sun at a certain time, and
Like, we're going to do it just like this. So
Okay.
Like, do all the suns, but then you can choose what time of day you want to cast your shadow on. Want me to hold it up? Let's see. So do it that way. Yep. And then just draw some more. And you can label it 7 if you want. If it makes sense. However you want. However it makes sense to you. And then can you write a short definition or any kind of keywords that reminds you why the shadow is reflected that way at that time of the day? Alexa, so what do you think the sun, if it's, you said the closer the sun, what do you think the sun is closer to?
The person, like the surface of the earth.
The surface of the earth, which is also the horizon.
Yes.
Yeah. So did everybody hear that, what me and Alexa were just talking about? That the sun, the closer the sun is to the horizon, it's the angle that's projected on the earth. Makes it shorter or longer.
So does that mean like it's longer when the sun is setting and when it's rising?
Mhm.
Right? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, it is the same thing, just a different point of the day. So take about another minute or two, and then we'll close up. Alright, so keep working if you're working. So let's return one more time back to this probe. And what answer is the correct answer to this? After doing our investigations. Bobby on Vivian. Yeah. So, does everyone agree and understand why it's Bobby on? Okay, so let's talk about a common misconception that children might have. So, I know the other day in class we talked about the moon setting and rising. So, why do you think that could be a misconception of what is the sun actually doing? Is it actually like setting and rising, or what is it doing? The sun just sits there.
And we're moving.
Yeah, we're revolving
Mm-hmm.
around.
So how is that in comparison to the moon? What was the moon doing?
The moon orbits.
Or
Yeah.
orbit. So the sun is rotating around. Or are we rotating around the sun? What is the sun doing?
The sun is still.
So it's not setting and rising. So that's a common misconception. So another common misconception, why do you think that Jamal's was a misconception? Do you think that children would pick that answer?
Yeah.
And why do you think children might pick that?
For like the reasoning I gave, like when you think about like, you know, I mean, I just like was thinking of like the afternoon, like that's when like kids are mostly outside in the afternoon, like they're mostly seeing the shadows getting larger. They're not necessarily seeing like that point when it's getting shorter.
Okay. Excellent.
And
So
you
we
don't really notice it. Like if your shadow is small, like you're not going to
I
notice it
agree.
as much as
I
like,
originally
when
thought
your
the same
shadow is
thing.
huge.
Yeah, before I look deeper into this probe. So another thing that like you could do with your students if you're ever doing with this probe, we don't have time to do it, but it's this book called What Makes a Shadow, and it just explains, it uses very simple like terminology like sunshine and shadow and like what makes it and why they change all day and why you can see them in your house and why you can see them outside. So that's always an excellent choice you could read. But do you guys have any ideas of what else we could have done to explain this to students?
1 or 2 minutes.
I think like making observations like throughout the day.
Okay. If you had the given time, like take them outside
Yeah,
at
like
9
3
o'clock.
times a
Going
day.
up, yeah, like
Yeah.
And
going
like
up.
even creating this like on their own, like based on their observations instead of looking at the model. Like, okay, let's go outside and let's look at where our shadows are. And
You
let's
could draw it with chalk. Yeah,
Yeah.
draw it with chalk and then go back and see where it directionally changed. Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Alrighty.